Hello everybody and welcome to a brand new episode of the Pole Position Podcast. Yes, we've finally had the first race of the 2020 F1 season, and to be fair, what a race it was. Yes, we had a few sort of dull moments, but I would say even the dull moments of this first race of the season had something behind it, something to maybe something else could happen. So yeah, it was fantastic. Some of my predictions came off, some of mine didn't. We obviously had great races for McLaren. Ferrari was surprising in qualifying and then managed to get a result in the race. So we're going to go a few things that have happened in the race that's happened today. I'm just recording this after the race has happened. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into it. So Valtteri Bottas wins the first race of the season. I said in my predictions a couple of days ago that Valtteri Bottas really had to win this race to sort of start his season off well, which he has done. I think I did say Lewis Hamilton would come in second. That was the case, and that was happening until the very last few laps of the 71 lap race. You know, having a bit of a spin, causing a collision with Alex Albon, then saw Hamilton have a 5-second time penalty. So he then finished the race in fourth. I think it was fourth actually. I think Carlos Sainz wasn't close enough, so Lewis Hamilton finished in fourth place, and obviously that helps. If I look to the standings now for Valtteri Bottas, obviously he wins the race, so 25 points, didn't get fastest lap, that went to Lando Norris. Trying to catch up to the pack. So you obviously had Valtteri Bottas winning, 25 points for him, vitally important, like I said, to get the first win of the season. Charles Leclerc in second with 18, Lando Norris would have had 15, but because of the fastest lap gets 16, and Lewis Hamilton in fourth with 12 points. So already Valtteri Bottas has a decent number of points gap between his teammate, which on a team perspective for Mercedes, they would have obviously wanted a 1-2. But personally for Valtteri Bottas, that's good news that, you know, he is already quite far away from his teammate. So like I said, great news for Bottas, only going to help in his confidence for the race at the same track next weekend. Hopefully, you know, if Mercedes are still going to be on top, I don't see that many changes happening. For next weekend's race. There won't be any upgrades, I don't think, because, you know, they're not travelling anywhere, so I doubt they're bringing many parts to the race. We may hear some news midweek, but if it stays the same, I think Valtteri Bottas will go into next weekend's qualifying and obviously race on the Sunday with the same level of confidence. And, you know, we could see 2 wins in a row for Valtteri Bottas, and like I said, how important that will be, you know, going into the season when we don't know how many races there are yet. Charles Leclerc, bit of a nightmare weekend really for Ferrari. I think they've sort of, that might be glossed over with the fact that Leclerc's finished in second place, but qualifying was absolutely poor. I mean, I didn't put them in there because they didn't look, you know, on the pace when I did my predictions the other day, but I thought they'd be higher up than they were. I mean, it was a very poor showing. I think 7th and 11th, with Sebastian Vettel in 11th place. Vettel again had a bit of a spin with the person that's going to be replacing him next year, Carlos Sainz, when they were fighting amongst the mid-table. Yeah, Vettel had a spin and that was sort of his race over. Did manage to claw back a point to finish in 10th place, but yeah, not really what Sebastian Vettel wanted at all. Leclerc, like I said, you know, managed to fight his way up to the top, and obviously with that time penalty for Hamilton only helped him get that second place. So I suppose well done to Charles Leclerc for actually fighting on for the whole race, but yeah, damage limitations that for Ferrari. I mean, they've got second place, but they were nowhere near that in terms of actual pace. And Lando Norris, what can I say? You know, finally McLaren are on the podium, and it's not just a podium that's sort of given to them after well, this is another penalty sort of given podium, but they didn't have to wait an hour and a bit to actually be given the podium and celebrate like that. They did actually get to celebrate in that manner. So yeah, fantastic for Lando Norris, put in a mega lap to make sure he got in and was close enough to actually get that third place. Great fastest lap at the end, and yeah, well deserved. It's great to see McLaren actually on the podium alongside other teams as well. Zach Brown looked ecstatic, so did the whole team, and it's really fantastic to see. Jensen Button, who was doing the interviews as well, was really happy for Lando Norris, and yeah, I think it was also good that Norris got it over Sainz, because obviously Norris is going to be there next year. Not to say that it wouldn't be great to have Sainz on the podium as well, but I think, you know, with McLaren moving forward, it was probably a good thing that Norris was the one that got the podium and not Sainz. But yeah, Hamilton finishes 4th. Like I said, had a bit of a accident in the end with Albon. I think it was fair, because I think, you know, when you look at the replays, Albon was actually in front of Hamilton when the incident occurred. So, you know, I think Hamilton's just got to look at that and think, you know, yeah, okay, you know, it was my error. Yes, it was. I think, you know, it was sort of a racing incident, but, you know, if anybody's going to take the blame, I think it has to be Hamilton in that situation. So yeah, he finishes the race 4th, like I said, 12 points instead of what could have been 18. He did have fastest lap at one point as well. So yeah, I think, you know, you'll obviously think that he could have obviously got more, but same track, same for next weekend. So, you know, let's see what he can deliver in terms of that. Like I said, Carlos Sainz in 5th, so he has 10 points. Sergio Perez in 8th. Racing Point, I feel like they should have been doing a lot better than what they actually finished the race in. Obviously, we're going to talk about all the DNFs, but yeah, Sergio Perez, he had a time penalty as well, of course, which obviously didn't help in that sense. But yeah, just, I don't know, they didn't look as fast as we were thinking they were. And obviously Jamie Davis is a huge Sergio Perez fan and wants Racing Point to do well this season, so a bit disappointing for him that he only managed 6th. Pierre Gasly for AlphaTauri in 7th. Esteban Ocon getting his first point since returning to the sport in 8th, so he gets 4 points. Giovinazzi in 9th, who gets 2 points, and of course, like I said, Vettel in 10th, but gets that 1 point. Nicholas Latifi did look a bit off the pace this weekend, if you look into it. You know, when there wasn't safety cars and they weren't sort of bunched back up again, you know, he was 10 seconds off the leads, 10 seconds off the next back marker. So yeah, I think he does need to pick himself up, and obviously the same track, like I keep saying, for next week is only going to help surely, and is boosting his confidence in that car. But Latifi in 11th, close to getting his first points of his career in his first F1 race, was the last running car. Now, you know, I've got to go through them all here, but unbelievable that only 11 drivers finished the first race. I mean, I know we normally have reliability issues, but absolutely crazy. So yeah, so I'm going to go through obviously the running orders in terms of who sort of DNF'd first. But Max Verstappen, lap 11, only managed 11 laps at the home circuit for Red Bull. Really disappointing. You could see it was sort of jolting. It was kept going into anti-stall. I don't know whether it was because they were changing settings while the racing was going on. We're not sure actually what's happened yet. We're only going to find that out probably after an investigation from Red Bull, but really disappointing for them. Daniel Ricciardo as well, only managed 17 laps. Ex-Red Bull driver, you know, driving for Renault, and with McLaren's drivers both finishing the race, it's only going to annoy him that he's still in that Renault car for this year. Lance Stroll, like I said, Racing Point, you know, really should have been doing better this weekend. Another issue, Lance Stroll doing 20 laps. Kevin Magnussen, 24. Romain Grosjean on 49. Sort of, they looked like they had the same issue for Haas. It looked like braking was an issue. They've had problems with their brakes over the last few years, and I'm pretty sure Gunter Steiner's not going to be happy with what's happened in there. So yeah, both Hasses didn't finish the race. George Russell looked like a gearbox issue. Really disappointing, because George Russell, with everything that was going on in terms of DNFs, you know, George Russell had himself up in the order, and he was close to the points as well. So unlucky for Russell. Kimi Raikkonen was probably the most amazing, spectacular DNF, with his wheel suddenly coming off on sort of the final few turns, turn 9 and turn 10. Unbelievable, just fell off. You can see from Sebastian Vettel's sort of camera on board, it just sort of flew off, and yeah, it was lucky that obviously there weren't crowds about and everything, because it did fling off and it could have gone anywhere. I mean, luckily it still stayed in the circuit fencing, but yeah, unbelievable. And obviously, you know, 3 safety cars appeared in the race. So yeah, the amount of DNFs, unbelievable. So yeah, Kimi Raikkonen managed 53. Albon had that incident with Hamilton, but I think a couple of laps later he retired on 67. Like I said, 71 lap race, so he was a few races off finishing. It might be the same issue that Verstappen had, we're not sure, or it might have been, you know, with the coming together that happened with Hamilton. But again, unlucky for Albon. It does seem to be Hamilton that sort of causes him this issues, because he was fighting for a podium as well. So really unlucky for Albon, but both Red Bulls not finishing in the home race for them, so very disappointing for them and the team. And then Daniel Kvyat for AlphaTauri was literally just a sort of tyre explosion that just sort of happened on the before going into turn 1 on lap 67. So yeah, that was another sort of spectacular one. I think Kimi's beats it though, to be honest. But yeah, that many drivers didn't finish the race today. You know, whether it is obviously still the first race of the season, although we're in July, you know, when we're in Australia and Bahrain, there are issues, and there are little niggles and reliability issues. And obviously, with us being in July, you sort of think, oh well, that must have, you know, we're in July now, these niggles won't happen. But this is still the first race of the season, so this is going to happen. But it's been a long while since we've had that many people not finish a race. So yeah, only 11 cars finishing. But yeah, you know, sort of just to wrap up the race, you know, it was a really good race. I think if I rate it, I think I would say 7 or 8 out of 10. You know, it was that enjoyable. 71 laps, you always, I know it's a short circuit, but you think, you know, that many laps, it's really going to take a lot to sort of be good for that whole length of time. But it really was. It was enjoyable, and obviously seeing the person that I thought should win, and I obviously want to win, in Valtteri Bottas winning, was ultimately important as well. I think he did well in the safety car restarts, and really controlled the race. I mean, at the start he was almost 7-8 seconds away from Verstappen, and even when Hamilton was catching, he was still 4 to 5 seconds ahead. So really controlled the race, looked comfortable, looked in the zone, and obviously that's only going to help for him being at the same track next weekend. So yeah, that's just my quick Austrian Grand Prix review. I'll obviously be doing some news that's going to happen this week. Any news that happens around the paddock, any more news maybe from the aftermath of this race, because I'm only doing it a few hours after the race is finished. If there's any more news, then I might bring up that midweek. And then obviously we've got a preview for the second Austrian Grand Prix of the year. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. Let me know your thoughts on the first race of the season. Did Bottas deserve to win it? Did Hamilton deserve to get that penalty? Please let me know in the comment sections below. And like I said, I will see you midweek for another video on the Pole Position Podcast YouTube channel. Thank you very much for watching. See you soon.